Have you ever faced a difficult decision so tough that it requires giving up something you cherish most in life? Imagine you have to sell something that holds all the memories of someone you love deeply. Would you be able to do that, knowing you will lose an important part of your past? Today's story is not just about loss, it's about the journey to find what truly matters in life. This is the story of Sophia, a young girl who must sell her father's old car, a car full of memories, in order to continue her education. But then, a mysterious man appears, and everything she thought she knew changes. Before we dive into this story, if you love inspiring stories and want to hear more like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss any video from Gentle Heart Stories. We always have warm and meaningful stories waiting for you. Now, let's listen to this touching tale. Every morning, before the sun even rises, Sophia is already at the old repair shop that her father had worked at for many years. The shop isn't large, but it is everything her father had built throughout his hard-working life. Sophia stands beside the car, gently wiping the dust off its hood, the faint morning light reflecting on her face, shining in her determined eyes. This job is not easy. The old, broken cars await her to fix them every day. The screeching of machines, the twisting of bolts, and the smell of oil often make her feel tired, but Sophia works with patience. She knows that, even though the work is tough and the income isn't enough to make ends meet, it helps her survive and, most importantly, keeps a small part of her father alive. Amidst the dirty, dusty cars outside, there are times Sophia feels like she's part of this world, unable to escape, unable to rise above it. But every time she looks at the family photo on her work desk, with her father smiling brightly in his work shirt, she feels a surge of strong faith inside her. Dad always said, if you work hard, nothing is impossible. He would be proud of you, Sophia. Her father's words are always the guiding light in every step she takes. Even though her life is tough now, she still believes in what her father taught her. Every day she works at the shop, Sophia feels like she is preserving a part of her father's legacy, even if it's not always easy. When she recalls the days spent with her father, Sophia cannot forget the beautiful memories they shared. Her father was a tough man, but full of love. Despite his hard work, which sometimes kept him up late and had him waking early, he always found time for Sophia, even if it was just a simple evening around the dinner table, drinking tea and talking about life. You must understand that in every job, no matter how small or large, there is an invisible value. Never look down on what you do, because that's what will build your future, her father would say whenever they had their conversations after work. For Sophia, her father's words weren't just advice, but a source of great encouragement, a solid belief that would never let her fall. Thinking back, Sophia smiled. When she was younger, her father would teach her how to fix cars, how to approach problems, and find solutions. She learned not just about the car repair trade from him but also how to face challenges in life. Her father taught her that sometimes it's the hardships that help people grow. That was the most important lesson she always carried with her in life. And then, when her father passed away, she realized that everything in life could change, but the love he gave her would never fade. But life isn't always smooth. Each passing day, Sophia realized that keeping the car repair shop afloat wasn't easy. The cost of living was rising, and her tuition fees were becoming an ever-growing burden. She had to face the reality, and gradually, she realized that her options were running out. One day, looking at her father's old car, she knew she had to make a tough decision. It was the car her father had used for many years, the car that had witnessed countless memories and trips with him. But now, in order to continue her education and follow her dreams, Sophia knew she had to sell it. This was the hardest decision she would ever make, but she understood that sometimes, we must make sacrifices to move forward. The feeling of lump in her throat rose every time she looked at the car, wondering if her father would be sad knowing she was selling it. But then, she reassured herself, Dad would understand, he always wanted me to have a better future, didn't he? She knew this was the only way she could continue her studies. To keep going and pursue the dreams her father always hoped for her. All she could do was try, even though her heart ached with the loss. Before he passed, her father had told her many things, but there was one sentence that Sophia always felt like he was still right there beside her every time she remembered it. This car is not just a vehicle, but a reflection of the family's values. That was her father's last words to her before he left. Those words echoed in her mind whenever she stood by the car. Every time she opened the car door, Sophia remembered her father, the lessons he had taught her about life, work, and, most importantly, family. These were the memories she would always carry in her heart. No matter what happened. The car wasn't just an object, but a symbol of the boundless love her father had for her. And even though she sold the car, she knew that the love and values her father had passed on would never fade. The day she decided to take the car to the store to sell it, Sophia's heart felt like it was being torn apart. Each step felt like the beat of her heart, heavy and filled with sorrow. She looked at the car, feeling like she could see her father's image in it. She wanted to stop, to hug the car and keep it, but reason told her this was something she had to do. She touched the steering wheel, feeling the familiarity, as if her father was still sitting beside her, protecting her on every journey. The last time she drove this car, she felt a pain that words couldn't describe. When she arrived at the store, she met the buyer, a stranger, and everything seemed blurry. He paid her 3 times the value of the car, but Sophia couldn't feel happy. She just felt a deep emptiness inside her. She looked at her father's car and then at the man, wondering if he understood the true value of this car. But in the end, she had no choice. She had to sell it because she needed the money to continue her education and pursue the dreams her father had always wanted for her. And then, when the car was no longer within her reach, a part of Sophia seemed to shatter. She felt like she was losing a part of her past, losing everything that had been with her for so many years. All the memories of her father, of those early mornings waking up and fixing the car with him, were now only faint memories in her mind. She felt lost, as if she had nothing left to hold on to. Sophia wondered if she could continue on the path ahead, now that part of her past had been left behind. Could she still fulfill her dreams without those cherished memories by her side? She didn't know, but one thing she was sure of, she wouldn't give up. Because she knew her father would always be in her heart. Like a bright light guiding her way. If this story has touched your heart, don't forget to click subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next inspiring stories. At Gentle Heart Stories, we share stories of kindness, change, and the valuable lessons life has to offer. Be a part of this loving community and join us in spreading positive messages. One day, while Sophia was busy repairing a customer's car, a middle-aged man appeared at the shop. He was dressed in a simple white shirt, dark trousers, and shiny leather shoes. The sunlight streamed through the window, casting a glow on him, creating an appearance that was both humble and unusual. Sophia couldn't help but notice him, as there was something special about him amidst the usual crowd of people who came and went every day. The man looked around for a moment, then stopped at the car that Sophia had just sold. His eyes gleamed with an unusual interest. When the man approached, he struck up a conversation with Sophia about the car. He mentioned that this car had a rare beauty, even though it looked old and worn out. "I'm willing to buy it for much more than its actual value," he said calmly, leaving Sophia in disbelief. Her logic told her that he couldn't possibly know the true value of the car, but the determination in his eyes made it impossible for her to refuse. In the end, the man paid her 3 times the car's worth and quickly completed the transaction. Shortly after, he quietly left without revealing anything more about himself. Everything happened so quickly and unexpectedly, leaving Sophia with a sense of mystery. She watched the man disappear, feeling as though she had just done something important, yet not understanding why he acted the way he did. After the mysterious man left, Sophia couldn't help but think about the event. She couldn't understand why he was willing to pay such a high price for the old car. A car that had been her father's sole possession, one that had been with her family for years. Why was he so interested in it? Why was he willing to pay such a large sum? The questions kept swirling in her mind, making it impossible for her to feel at ease. She wondered if this man knew something she didn't. Was there a special reason for his actions that she couldn't see? Sophia started trying to explain the situation in different ways, but she couldn't come up with a clear answer. She couldn't forget the unsettling feeling she had when he left so suddenly, without any explanation. Curiosity kept rising in her mind. Sophia couldn't stop thinking about him. How did he know the real value of that car? Could he have had some relationship with her father? The questions kept flooding her mind like waves crashing on the shore, making it impossible for her to find peace. All of this doubt and curiosity prevented her from focusing on her work. Although she didn't want to, the image of the mysterious man haunted her thoughts throughout the day. Whenever she thought of the car, Sophia would remember her father. It was the car her father had cherished for so many years, the car that had been his companion on countless trips, a witness to the beautiful memories they shared together. Her father had taught her so many things, from fixing cars to how to view life, about love for family, and about patience and perseverance. He was the only one who truly understood her, and the car was an important part of those memories. Every time she sat in the car, Sophia would remember the early mornings when her father would start the engine, preparing for long trips. She remembered how he would always smile whenever she sat beside him, telling her interesting stories about life and the people he worked with. This car was a symbol of love and connection, and now, it was gone. Although she had decided to sell it to continue her education, Sophia couldn't stop thinking about her father and the beautiful moments they had shared. Those memories weren't just images, they were the warm feelings in her heart every time she sat next to her father in that car. She wondered if the man who had bought it understood its true value. Could he feel the same emotions that she and her father had experienced? This question kept repeating in her mind, making it impossible for her to find the answer. A week later, one afternoon, Sophia received a call from an unfamiliar number. She had never seen this number before, and a sense of unease filled her. The caller introduced himself as a friend of her father and invited her to meet him at a restaurant. At first, Sophia was suspicious. She didn't know if this was a prank or if something was wrong. But then, she thought to herself, this could be an opportunity to get answers to the questions that had been bothering her for so long. Perhaps this was the moment to understand more about the man who had bought the car and the true reason behind his decision. Still, there was a slight worry in her heart. How long had it been since she had heard from anyone connected to her father? And who was this person really? But with curiosity she couldn't suppress, Sophia decided to meet him. She told herself that whatever happened, she would face it, and if there was something she needed to know, now was the time. With that resolve, she began preparing for the meeting, when Sophia entered the restaurant. A sophisticated yet cozy space, she could feel the strangeness in the air. A waiter smiled and led her to a table by the window, where a man was sitting, waiting. It was Richard Mason. When he turned to face Sophia, she recognized him immediately. It was the man she had met when selling the car, the mysterious man who had been on her mind. When she saw him, Sophia's heart skipped a beat. He was not just the man who bought her car, he was an old friend of her father. A friend she had never heard her father mention, but through his gaze, she could sense a strange familiarity. Richard Mason smiled at her, and in his eyes, there was something profound that she couldn't quite put into words. "Hello, Sophia," he said. "It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Richard Mason, your father's old friend." Richard Mason sat across from Sophia, his eyes filled with sincerity and warmth. He told her that he had been following her life from a distance for many years and was aware of the difficulties she had been facing. "Your father was my best friend," Richard began, his voice deepening with emotion. "We went through many difficult times together, and I've always remembered what he did for me." He shared that, even though time had passed, he remained grateful for the friendship he had with her father. And upon learning about Sophia's situation, he had decided to help her. "Your father's car wasn't just an asset, it was a symbol of friendship and the values your father passed on. I want to help you so you can continue your education and achieve your dreams." Richard Mason shared many stories about Sophia's father, tales of hard work and the evenings they spent drinking coffee together, talking about life. These stories stunned Sophia, as she had never known that her father had such a close friend. She felt a deep sense of emotion, a mixture of unfamiliarity and familiarity. Richard Mason, now a billionaire, was not only her father's old friend, but also someone who wanted to carry on the values her father had left for the world. As Richard Mason began to reveal why he wanted to help Sophia, the atmosphere in the restaurant grew still. He looked at Sophia with sincere eyes and began telling her about his past. "Your father helped me a lot when I was poor," he said, his voice deep and emotional. "I was once a young man with nothing but dreams and hard work. But your father was the first person who believed in me, gave me a chance. He showed me the value of perseverance and self-belief. Thanks to him, I have what I do today." Sophia sat in silence, listening intently to every word he spoke. She couldn't help but feel moved by the story he shared, knowing that her father had never spoken much about his past, but he had always been a kind-hearted person, ready to help others. Richard Mason continued, "Back then, I was just an unknown man in a strange city. But your father reached out and helped me without hesitation. He gave me a chance, and I owe him so much." A feeling of gratitude welled up in Richard Mason as he mentioned her father. He looked at Sophia with a gaze full of respect. "Now, when I have the ability to help you, I want to do it because I feel it's the only way to repay your father. And because I know he would have wanted this." Sophia sat there, unable to speak. She could feel the sincerity in every word Richard Mason said. A strange warmth and comfort filled her heart. She hadn't expected that what her father had done for others would have such a profound impact. Although moved by Richard Mason's words, Sophia still had many unanswered questions. She felt as though a large piece of her life puzzle had been filled, but there were still gaps that needed further understanding. She looked at Richard, her eyes full of emotion, and decided to ask the questions she had been holding in for so long. "Why did you choose to help me, and not someone else?" Sophia asked gently. You don't know much about me, I'm not close to you or your family. Why me? Richard Mason paused before answering her question. He looked at her, then smiled gently, as if he had been prepared for this question all along. Actually, you're right, he replied. I don't know much about you, and I'm not someone who easily opens up to others. But when I found out that you were the daughter of my best friend, I couldn't sit idly by. Your father dedicated his whole life to helping others, and I felt it was the right thing to continue the path he started. Richard Mason looked at Sophia with a deep gaze, as if he wanted her to fully understand his feelings. I'm not helping you just because your father helped me, but because I believe in your potential. You have an inner strength that many others don't. Despite everything life has taken from you, you stand strong, still dreaming, and not giving up. That's why I want to help you. Sophia felt a lump form in her throat. She had never thought that the small things she did could have such a profound meaning for someone else. Richard Mason's words were like a powerful encouragement, a confirmation that her efforts were not in vain. Richard Mason's story sparked a memory in Sophia that she would never forget. As he continued to share his memories with her father, stories of hardship, long nights spent exchanging ideas, and sharing dreams, Sophia began to feel even more deeply the love her father had for everyone. Your father was not only a strong man, Richard began, his voice softening with respect. He was also a wonderful friend, a friend I could never find anywhere else. We went through tough times together, nights lit only by the light of an oil lamp, and mornings waking up with hope for a new day. Your father was the only one who was always there for me during the times I felt like I had lost everything. Sophia listened intently, a mixture of joy and pain flooding her heart. Memories of her father flooded her mind, causing her to fight back tears. She remembered how her father had always told her, no matter how difficult life was, never to give up. His words echoed in her mind like a gentle, loving song. Dad always believed in me, she thought, and now, how can I live up to that love? Throughout their conversation, Sophia hadn't expected the special connection that would form between her and Richard Mason. At first, she had only seen him as a friend of her father's, someone who wanted to help her out of gratitude. But as she sat facing him and listened to him share his story, she realized that there was a deep empathy between them that not everyone could feel. Although Richard Mason was successful and a famous billionaire, he didn't come across as arrogant or self-important. Every word he spoke was filled with sincerity and compassion. Sophia could feel the closeness, warmth, and understanding in the way he viewed life. Maybe I misunderstood him, she thought to herself. He's not just someone who wants to help me out of gratitude, he truly cares about me and my future. Every story he shared made Sophia feel as though she were being comforted, as though she were being reminded of the values her father had passed down. She felt a strong connection, not only with Richard but also with her father. She realized that even though her father had passed, the values he had left behind would always live on in her and in friends like Richard Mason. Gradually, between Sophia and Richard Mason, a bond of trust and mutual respect began to grow. Although they didn't fully understand each other yet, something had created a natural connection, as if both shared an invisible thread, strong yet unspoken. Richard Mason, with all he had been through, never acted cold or distant. He opened his heart to Sophia, and she could feel the sincerity in every word he spoke. Sophia, though still filled with emotions about the memories of her father, began to feel the warmth coming from Richard. She no longer felt the loneliness she had before, but instead, a new sense of hope. Maybe I'm not alone on this journey, she thought to herself. Richard isn't just a friend of my father, he's someone I can trust. Finally, after their conversation had stretched on, Richard Mason looked at Sophia with an encouraging gaze. "Sophia," he said, "I want to invite you to join a large community project I'm working on. It's a project to help young people with potential who haven't had the opportunity. I think you could do a lot. I want you to develop your talents and passions, to not only change your life but also the lives of those around you." Richard Mason's invitation took Sophia by surprise, but it was also something she had been waiting for. This was an opportunity for her to pursue her dream, to not just stop at education but also contribute to positive changes in the community. She felt a surge of happiness and hope fill her heart, as though everything was finally starting to fall into place. If this story has touched your heart, don't forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next inspiring stories. At Gentle Heart Stories, we share tales of kindness, transformation, and valuable life lessons. Be a part of this loving community and join us in spreading positive messages. After deciding to join the community project that Richard Mason had invited her to, Sophia felt a great turmoil inside. She couldn't help but feel anxious, confused, and a little scared about the unknown. Even though she knew this was a huge opportunity, a turning point in her life, the insecurity couldn't leave her mind. She wondered if she was capable of completing this task. Memories of past failures haunted her, and she felt uncertain about her abilities. Sophia stood in front of the mirror in her small office, questioning if she was strong enough to keep going. "Can I really do this?" she thought. "This project is so big, and I don't have enough experience. What will happen if I fail?" The feeling of anxiety overwhelmed her like a powerful wave, making it hard for her to see the way forward. However, just when she felt like she was about to give up, she remembered Richard Mason's words, which had always encouraged her from the very beginning: "Nothing is impossible if you're truly determined." These words were like a small flame lighting up Sophia's heart, giving her the faith to face the big changes awaiting her. Richard Mason was the one who had been following and supporting Sophia throughout the process of participating in the project. He knew that starting something new was always challenging, especially when one didn't feel entirely confident in their abilities. Whenever Sophia seemed confused or didn't know what to do next, he gently reminded her of the value of patience and perseverance in work. "Don't worry, Sophia," Richard Mason said during one of their meetings. "We all start from scratch. Things won't be easy, but if you persevere, everything will gradually improve." He taught her not only work skills but also how to face herself during tough times. "Every failure is a valuable lesson," he said. "See it as an opportunity to learn and grow." Richard's words were always a comforting balm for Sophia during moments when she felt unsure. Gradually, she realized that his encouragement was not just empty words but truth, principles her father had taught her, and now, Richard Mason was the one continuing to pass them on. As Sophia worked, she began to discover potential abilities she had never thought of before. She started getting involved in organizing the project's events, from planning, finding partners, to coordinating work groups. These tasks, though new and challenging, helped her uncover strengths she never knew she had. Each time she encountered difficulties, Sophia remembered Richard Mason's advice and decided not to give up. Gradually, she began to discover a hidden passion for leadership and connecting people. She realized that she could organize events, coordinate teams, and bring about good results, something she had never dared to dream of before. One of the important project meetings became an opportunity for Sophia to showcase her abilities. When everyone was worried about whether the project could succeed, Sophia stood up and proposed a new plan, an alternative approach to solving the issues they were facing. Everyone was surprised by her confidence and creativity, and in the end, her plan brought the project closer to success. Sophia felt immense joy when she realized that not only could she handle difficult tasks, but she could also shine in areas she once thought were not for her. I really can do this, she thought. I can achieve anything if I believe in myself, although the project was gradually falling into rhythm. Big challenges kept coming. The project faced financial difficulties, causing everyone to feel stressed. Additionally, there were conflicts among team members, making work harder than ever. Sophia had to face some very tough decisions. Should she continue or give up? She knew that without the right decision at this moment, everything she and the team had built would collapse. Feelings of exhaustion and disappointment began to creep into Sophia's mind. Sleepless nights worrying about finances and future plans made her feel as though all her efforts would be in vain. But each time she felt desperate, Sophia would remember Richard Mason's words, his relentless encouragement that helped her rise after each failure. In the most difficult moments, Sophia decided to share her feelings with Richard. "I don't know if I can do this anymore," she said. "Everything is falling apart around me, and I don't know what to do." Richard just smiled, looking at her with understanding and patience. "We can't control everything, but we can decide how to respond to it. Stand up, Sophia. Keep going, even if it's just one small step at a time." There were moments when Sophia felt she couldn't go on anymore. She stood amidst difficulties, between disappointment and exhaustion, feeling like she couldn't continue. Those moments, when it seemed impossible to go on, were when she felt the weakest. However, each time she thought she couldn't continue, Sophia heard Richard Mason's encouraging words, the ones he had repeated so many times: "Don't give up. When things get the toughest, that's when you need to be the strongest." Sophia realized that these words were not just temporary comfort but a reminder of her inner strength. She understood that hardships were a part of the growth process, and if she could overcome them, she would be stronger than ever. Finally, after all the difficulties and challenges, Sophia began to believe in herself. She knew that nothing was easy, but if she didn't give up, if she kept persevering and giving her best, she could do anything. Past failures no longer scared her, they were valuable lessons that helped her move forward. Sophia stood on her new path, more confident and stronger. She understood that self-belief was the key to overcoming all challenges in life. And from that moment on, she was no longer afraid of facing the unknown, always ready to step forward and take control of her life. After successfully completing the project and feeling more confident than ever, Sophia decided to return to her hometown, where she grew up, to visit her father's grave and reflect on everything she had been through. This was an emotional decision for her. She knew that this trip was not just a visit to her hometown but also a soul-searching journey, where she would find comfort and reconnect with her past. Over the years, Sophia had gone through many changes, from painful failures to great successes. She realized that in order to continue growing, she needed to face her past, especially the memories of her father. The days spent with him, his teachings, had all become an inseparable part of her. She couldn't keep moving forward without looking back, without revisiting the place where it all began. To feel the growth within herself. This return, though not easy, was an opportunity for her to reconnect with the memories of the past and find peace in her soul. It was not just a physical journey, but one of rediscovery, a way for Sophia to heal and mend the wounds in her heart. The return was not an easy one for Sophia. As she boarded the bus heading to the small village where she was born, her heart was filled with mixed emotions. It wasn't just the worry about facing painful memories, but also the anticipation of forging a new connection with her past. She didn't know how she would feel when she returned to a place where every corner held memories of her father, sweet yet sorrowful memories. The small roads of her hometown, the old houses, all seemed to be waiting for her. But inside, Sophia couldn't shake the unease. How would she feel when standing before her father's grave? Would the pain of loss still haunt her, or would she feel a sense of peace within? Every step felt like a challenge, as if it were nudging her to face the deep memories she had tried to push away all these years. She felt heavy-hearted when thinking of her father, the man who had taught her all the life lessons, yet could no longer stand by her side to share in her joys and achievements. Her nervousness grew with every step. Finally, when she stood before her father's grave, Sophia felt an odd sense of peace, a feeling she couldn't quite explain. She sat down by the grave, absorbing the quiet space and the smell of fresh grass. The sun cast a warm ray of light on her face, and Sophia felt as though her father were there, smiling at her. For a brief moment, she almost heard his voice in her heart, "You've done well, my daughter." Those words were a gentle comfort, soothing the sadness in her heart. Though her father had been gone for so long, the memories of him continued to live on within her. She recalled his life lessons about facing challenges with compassion and humility. Those words now served as a compass, guiding her along the path she was walking. Sophia felt as if her father were watching over her, not only in difficult times but also in moments of happiness. This feeling, though hard to comprehend, gave her great comfort and motivation. She felt that her father was still with her, still following her steps, and this made her feel that she was never truly alone, as she sat alone in front of her father's grave. Sophia not only thought about the old memories but also about the life lessons her father had taught her. She realized that life was not always easy, and difficulties were an inseparable part of the journey of growth. But it was in those challenges that she truly learned the value of love and perseverance. She understood that, although she had experienced many losses, those losses had helped her grow stronger. Each failure was an opportunity to learn, to rise, and keep moving forward. She realized that nothing in life was meaningless, and everything that happened brought with it a valuable lesson. It was a lesson about love, gratitude, and cherishing those around her. It was a lesson about patience. About not giving up in the face of adversity. And most importantly, it was a lesson about living authentically, knowing that she could overcome any challenge if she had faith in herself and the support of her loved ones. After the trip back to her hometown, Sophia realized that her feelings for Richard Mason were not just gratitude, but a genuine respect. Richard wasn't just the one who helped her financially, he had been a teacher and a companion on her journey to rediscover herself. She couldn't deny that her feelings for Richard had gradually deepened over time. As they worked together on the project, Sophia began to notice qualities in Richard that she had never seen before. His patience, sincerity, and the love he showed her were things she had never imagined. In every conversation, Richard made her feel important, helping her realize her true value. The sense of safety and trust that Richard provided made her not only admire him but also feel deeply moved. Gradually, Sophia's feelings for Richard evolved from simple thanks to something much deeper, an appreciation for the person who had been by her side throughout this journey. She felt she owed him not just a favor but a part of her heart. The return to her hometown and the experiences during that journey helped Sophia rediscover herself. She understood that the path she had chosen, though not easy, was the right one. She decided to continue down that path, not only for her family but for herself and her big dreams for the future. Sophia knew that she still had much to learn and experience, but she was ready to face any challenge. She no longer feared the difficulties life might bring. Instead, she saw them as an inevitable part of the growth journey. She no longer worked for herself alone but for those around her, to create positive change and bring joy to the community. She not only wanted to continue the project but also expand it, to help more people, just as Richard Mason had helped her. And throughout this journey, Sophia knew that she had found not only a valuable friend but also a lifelong companion on the long road of life. After facing numerous challenges and hardships, Sophia and Richard Mason finally realized that their relationship was not just a connection from the past, but one built on what they had created together. The love between them didn't come from haste or coincidence, but from sincere conversations, shared moments during difficult times, and the challenges they had overcome together. Sophia was no longer the fragile girl she was at the start of the journey, and Richard was no longer just her father's friend. They had become companions, individuals who shared goals, beliefs, and values in life. The feelings that grew between them were real love, a love built on respect, understanding, and mutual care. They didn't need to say, "I love you," every day because they both knew, deep in their hearts, that the love was embedded in every action, gesture, and word. Looking at Sophia, Richard saw not just a beautiful woman, but a strong, determined woman capable of weathering any storm. And Sophia realized that she loved Richard not just because he had helped her, but because of the sincerity in his every action. Because of the love and care he showed her every moment of life, Sophia was no longer the weak and vulnerable girl she once was. Through each challenge, she had become a strong, confident woman, always ready to face any challenges life threw her way. From the early days when she sold her father's old car to pay for her tuition, to the tough decisions she faced during her community project, Sophia had learned how to stand firm. She realized that strength wasn't something visible, but it was persistence, the ability to rise after each fall, and the belief in oneself. Through failures, she had learned not to give up, to see every failure as a valuable lesson, and most importantly, she had found confidence in her own abilities. When she looked back on the journey, Sophia saw that she had changed not just in appearance, but deep within her soul. She no longer feared challenges, instead, she had learned to accept them and face them with resilience. Her worries and self-doubt had gradually melted away, and now, she stood before the future with a heart full of hope, strength, and determination. One beautiful day, while working on a project with Richard, the silence in the room became warm when Richard approached her. He looked into her eyes, his gaze filled with trust and love. Richard didn't speak much, but in his eyes, Sophia felt everything. Finally, in a deeply emotional moment, Richard expressed his feelings for her. "Sophia," he began, "I can't help but admire the resilience and courage you've shown over the past time. You've overcome challenges not just to survive but to become a strong and confident woman. You've made me reflect on myself and learn so much about courage and perseverance." Richard's words stirred emotions within Sophia. She hadn't expected him to perceive such deep things about her. Their bond had been built not only through working together but also through understanding each other. Sophia smiled, unsure of what to say, but her heart was racing like never before. After Richard's heartfelt confession, they both realized that love wasn't just an emotion, it was the joint effort of building a future. Sophia and Richard began planning a new community project, one they hoped would help those in need, people like Sophia had once been. This project wasn't just work, it was a shared vision, a way for them to spread positive values and create meaningful change in society. They decided to invest their full energy into this project, not just to help those who needed support, but to help others in difficulty find hope. Richard and Sophia worked side by side, sharing every idea and facing every challenge together. They knew that things wouldn't always be easy, but they believed that with faith, determination, and love, they could overcome anything. Together, they built a brighter future, not just for themselves but for those around them, and that was the greatest joy they could bring to the community. Looking back on the arduous and challenging journey they had been through, both Sophia and Richard realized that love and sacrifice were the true values in life. They had not only overcome personal struggles but had also learned to see everything with an open heart. Difficulties had not made them weaker but had strengthened them, and the love they shared was proof of that. The long journey from their first meeting to becoming life companions was not only a love story but also a journey of growth. Both of them realized that it was in the hardest moments that they truly saw the value of what they had built. In the end, Sophia and Richard's story concluded in fulfillment. Sophia had not only found love but had also found true freedom and happiness. She had risen from difficulties, not just to achieve her own dreams but to fulfill the dreams her father had always believed in. Sophia looked towards the future with faith and hope. She knew that Richard would always be by her side, facing challenges together and building a better future. She was not just a victor in her own life but an inspiration to others, showing that no matter the hardships, love, patience, and determination would always lead us to the destination. And so, Sophia and Richard's story ended with a perfect, warm, and hopeful conclusion. And so, we've followed Sophia and Richard's emotional journey, from the challenges they faced to the love and growth they found in life. This story will surely resonate in our hearts, as it is not just a journey of self-discovery but also a lesson about love, patience, and the power of determination. If you feel that this story has touched your heart and you want to hear more inspiring tales, don't forget to hit subscribe, so you won't miss any videos from Gentle Heart Stories. Let's continue this journey of exploring uplifting stories that motivate and help you find the strength within yourself. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.